But then I am learning that I love loving. I love everything about love. Laughter and loving and caring and caressing and holding and smiling and flirting and playing and being silly and being a boy and, whatever is clean and godly that's good sort of really satisfies to the core.
Yeah. Well, I would say one of the things that's on my list here is that it's really been impressed upon me over this last year that I believe that faithfulness is really the key to success and recovery. Mm-hmm. And when I mean faithfulness, people sometimes think of faithfulness as like perfection. No, faithfulness is not perfection. Faithfulness isn't even necessarily persistence, although there's an aspect to that. I see faithfulness as saying, you know what, I've seen somebody has explained to me and shown me what this process of recovery is really all about. You know what? I'm going to choose to be faithful to that process. When I feel like it, when I don't feel like it, whether I stumble or not, especially when I stumble, I'm going to choose to remain, you know what? I'm going to stay faithful to this process. And so I think faithfulness is really key, because faithfulness doesn't mean we don't have any slips, we don't have any failures, but it's just saying my heart will return to what I have chosen is right. That's why I think faithfulness to God is essential. God says he remains faithful to us even though we are faithless. So, but I think faithfulness is saying even when we fall, there's a moment of clarity and we go, wait a second, I want to return to what I'm called to do.
Yes.
So,
and that's room for our humanity.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yes, because we don't have perfection, And so I'm learning the value of a clean life and a simple life and a playful life and a fun life, and all that's God approved.
Yeah.
Got the God stamp of approval on it. It's being his boys and girls living on this planet and laughing better and loving better and really weeping better too.
Yeah, it drives me kind of nuts sometimes when I see these portrayals of Jesus in films and stuff where he's just this somber character. I'm like, yes, he had a very, very serious mission that he was on, but I cannot, in my mind, think that he did not have absolute joy and even giddiness at healing all of these sick people that he would touch and he would speak to and that he would heal. I mean, I just can't imagine that was all somberness, that he was, here, I'll give you your sight and, okay, big deal, I don't have any joy over that. I just can't imagine that he didn't have a thrill in being able to present such power and redemption to people.
That's a good thought.
So I think when you say that this is God-approved fun, yeah, absolutely. God made life to be enjoyable. He didn't make it to be a downer.
And we're back to your father-in-law.
Keep smiling.
Yeah, Jesus probably smiled a lot.
I'm sure he did.
This is good. This was made, and this is good. I'm sure he cried. He wept too.
Yeah,
we know several places where it's clear.
One of the things I've been learning and have been learning for a long time, but really was reminded again over this past year, is that men really do want to tell their story.
Oh yes.
When they know the environment is safe.
Yes.
Are you not just always amazed at just how, quite honestly, how ready guys are to tell their story when you create a space for them that they know their story is safe?
Yes, absolutely. And it's amazing because women will say men don't talk. And I think men are dying to talk in a safe place.
Yeah.
Because they've got confusion, they've got hurts, and they're struggling too. And so I think you're absolutely right. And I make that assumption when I sit around and go, what do you want to say? I don't even have to tell them what to say. They're ready to go in a safe place.
Well, and that's why I think there is such courage in men that doesn't get recognized a lot of times, especially men in recovery, because so much of the time there's almost an additional shame that's added to guys that are in recovery. Oh, you're too weak to be able to handle your sexuality, huh? So you need to go to that recovery stuff. There's this underlying feeling of you're just sort of a weak man, and that's why one of the things that I always want to try to communicate to any guy who takes that brave step into saying I need help with my addiction, is I want him to know that's courageous. That's not weak.
No, that's right.
I mean, and so for guys to step into that, and then just such a willingness to share their story, I'm always just amazed.
And it's really manly.
It is.
If you think about it, when men get together with men, it's right, and it's manhood. It's manly. So I've got a couple of other ones that are just observations. I see a lot of wives in pain, and they're in the pain of loneliness. They're in marriages, and they want to be loved and valued and appreciated and esteemed. And I think it's kind of simple, but we sort of, we muck it up with lots of distractions. But if it's just the basic. Everybody wants to be loved and recognized and esteemed. And so, if you're listening, if you don't take anything away from today, would you just go esteem and love on and nurture? Just tell someone they're just a blessing. Just tell them they're good. Just because there's lots of people lonely out there.
Yeah, I'm sensing a theme here in our program today about smiling. Sometimes a smile. Have you ever noticed that when you're just kind of out and about, the difference that just a smile can make, whether you're receiving one or whether you're giving one?
Yes,
it sort of diffuses. It sort of just brightens. It just kind of it brings a sense of light into a person's life. And so even if you don't say anything, if you're out and about or whatever, just wear a smile. Be willing to smile at somebody.
And so I see a lot of men that are thrashing around emotionally, mucking things up, trying to hide or control or use anger or be so into themselves. And they're just thrashing against themselves, against God, against their wives. Life could be better if they weren't fighting this battle that they have. And so that'd be my encouragement. Just if you're fighting yourself, say stop, enough already. Just for today, I'm going to stop. I have a battle. Okay, I have a battle. And then I'd even challenge you to go write the battle down. What are 10 things you repeat over and over again? Because these battles are so repetitive. But anyway, if you could quiet the battle a little, that would be helpful.
And I think sometimes it's hard for men to understand, why they're so angry. I know that you've talked about this before about, when you start asking guys about, why are they angry, and they just, the answer you don't allow is I don't know. It's like you make a guy explore. And I think that's so when you're saying go write some of these things down, I think some of those guys are going to say I don't know. And I think they need to push past that a little bit and say, no, there's something triggering why you're retreating, why you are blowing up.
Start with what you do know.
Yeah.
Right? Don't say I don't know, but say, well, I think a part of it is this and a piece of it's that, and I don't know how this fits with that, but that's another piece. Right? You already know a bunch. Mm-hmm. Then I think men run from emotional pain. A woman will get emotional, she'll be hurting, and guys run. And I don't get it. It's the best time for you to perform at your best. Stay present, stay in the moment. But we just scatter. I mean, she's emotional. Well, don't cry about it. Or why you got all messed up about that? Well, if that girl bothers you, don't talk to that girl anymore. And it's just like we just got quick salute. We don't listen and go slow very well.
Yeah, but Stephen, I mean, we'd rather run into the front lines of a war sometimes. And and we could probably spend a whole program, and we have, talking about some of the reasons why that is. But, I think it's a scary thing for guys who don't even know how to manage their own emotions to then be asked to step in when their wives are crumbling.
That's a good
and so
point.
I think there's both the hold, like you like to say, hold in the moment when she's crumbling, but I think also there's the self-awareness of what's keeping you from being more emotional in this relationship and willing to share.
But if we could try something different this year, try something, pray in the moment, just wait, hold, just repeat grace or mercy or peace or something, And then I guess my last one would be, so many men live from the neck up.
Yeah.
They just have this logical, quick, fast, clean, and it's worked most of their life, but the people around them are dying for an emotional connection.
Well, I would say they either live from the neck up or the belt down. So it's kind of,
That's your closing thought for the year. We're wrapping up the show now with Jonathan's.
they're missing their gut and their heart. So the emotional.
That's too good. This is a sexual show.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead. How do you want to wrap up?
Well, I would say I've got a couple things here. One thing that I've noticed is that I really do believe more and more that slow growth is good growth. I think we live in a society and even in a world that is so fast-paced. I mean, the way technology has taken things in terms of how we even consider our relationships with one another. I mean, if you can't relate in 140 characters or less, then get moving on, And so I think slow growth, I've seen this because there's a lot of guys that get into recovery, and what do they want? They're in a crisis. They want fast. They want things to change. Wives want that too. Change, fast, fast, fast. And I think those who ultimately embrace slow growth, it's like the nutrients of recovery start to seep into their being.
That's good.
Rather than, hey, let's spray a little water on them, try to make them grow and look really good. And it's like, no, we get nutrients deep down in our soul, and that's where the real growth happens. So I think slow is good. And along those lines, I also think that small is effective. We tend to think sometimes the church model today is build your congregation, get more and more and more people. And one of the values that we have in our ministry, I mean, it's written right into our mission statement, which is healing sexual brokenness by God's grace, one story at a time. And I think to value small, to value that one-on-one, to value small group is really where I believe effective ministry happens. It's like when a person knows I can sit across a table at Starbucks with this one person sharing my story and being heard and having somebody take the time to listen, man, that goes a long way in helping a person feel like they are wanted, that they belong, that they're going to get on the right track, that there is hope. And so I think small is really effective in that way. And then finally, we got a couple minutes left here. I would say that I really do believe that marriage is still sacred. We see so many marriages devastated in our ministry, and we've seen such an attack in recent years on marriage in our country. But I think whether or not a person's marriage makes it, whether or not laws change, I believe that marriage as instituted by God is still a sacred institution. And I've just seen that more and more, not only in my own life, my own marriage. There's just been this increased honor and respect that I have for the relationship that I have with my wife. But I just believe marriage in and of itself is a sacred thing, regardless of all the fireworks that are going on around it, whether it be an addiction or whether it be the culture or whatever.
And I would say marriage is a holy place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good place. And it's a right place. And marriage is where I belong.
Yeah.
Is that where you belong?
Absolutely. And I feel a sense of belonging in my marriage. And that didn't happen when life was all about me. There's plenty of married couples that they still have that paradigm of self-absorption.
Right.
And you're not going to feel a sense of belonging until you kind of let that go and say, I'm going to let this other person in, and I'm going to really be one. And then I think you feel that sense of belonging.
And that's that big picture thing, right?
Yeah.
We're made for relationship, and we're made to love well, and to sacrifice well, and to stay the course well. And we get distracted by the culture, and we get seduced in our own minds, and we do stupid things. And we're still chosen. We are His chosen ones. Is that not powerful? He picked you. He picked me. He picked you, listeners. He picked you. He loves you. He sacrificed for you.
Well, listeners, we hope you get on a mission of growth this next year, and that you'll be willing to just kind of keep in mind the insights that you're gaining along the way. We think it's important to stop and reflect every now and then and just see what God has been teaching us. We're glad you've been here, and we look forward to having you back again next week on the Pure Sex Radio broadcast.
Pure Sex Radio is paid for by Be Broken Ministries. Visit us online at puresexradio.com.